What is up, guys? It is your host with the most, Trizzy K. And today we are going over my brutally honest, cold, unfiltered opinion about the power washing, pressure washing business. The honest truth regarding it, unfiltered. We're going to address some main concerns via oversaturation, via seasonality, via how hard it is to get into the business when you're starting the business, how isolated is it? That's what we're going to be talking about. So where do we start here? So I actually asked ChatGPT to give me a prompt over some of these main addressable concerns, and this is what it pulled up. So the first thing, what happens in slow months? When you're first starting off and you don't know many things, and you could do a lot of knowledge, you could do a lot of research, you could watch a lot of videos, you could read a lot of podcasts, or listen to a lot of podcasts, read a lot of books. But when you're actually into the thick of things, you can't allow emotionality, you can't allow emotional distress to be able to dictate your action going forward. That's where a lot of people fail. They identify with the money, they identify with what they're doing as who they are as a man or a woman, which is ultimately the wrong thesis of what you need to attain. What you need to attain is to have the purse capacity, the ability to be relentless in those instances and be able to learn. Those months are more for learning. And then also the way to maneuver that via just the compounding effect is by changing the business model in itself. Not by hunt, kill, but by allowing them to stay. And you structure it from a reoccurring place, so even when those quote-unquote slow months happen, you have customers that actually pay during those months. You could do this via commercial primarily, but you can also do this via residential and establish service plans for your services so that they keep coming back, whether that's monthly, biannually, quarterly, triannually, etc. It is a cheat code, but you just have to compile customers initially. So, if that answers the question. 2, how do you even get started? You just go. Sometimes, I'll give you a little bit of a feedback with what my opinion is, because it is difficult, especially when you have a job or if you have a family, you have kids, if that is relatable to you through the screen. You don't want to quit your job, but you want to pursue a business. My best advice is probably not to quit your job until the weekends actually surpass the weekly income, and then you have a choice to make. But, when you're starting, I went straight into it. I was dumbified within the fact because I graduated with a business degree in finance, and I decided to pursue this. But my thought process was way different back then. It was just almost dumbified behind the fact of okay, I kind of understand the compounding effect. I really want to start this. And I thought that if I got a business degree, that must mean I start a business. Well, that was, I say, a solid mindset, because it comes almost dumbified, where it was just simple and just go. But I know how analysis paralysis can work with some people. If you have that, allow the weekend to surpass the weekly and then go. Sometimes you can just roll. But if you imagine this pool is fear, it's a mile wide and an inch deep. So when you actually get into it, it's not that scary, but you just have to be relentless. And which is kind of vague, but that means just find out what works, crush them with volume, and then you do that by trial and error, honestly. And that's sometimes shitty, but it's what you need to do. And so one of the main things whenever you're first starting is that you have to have a customer list. You have to have a customer list, and you have to have a place to actually store those customers. This is why today's sponsor is Jobber. And Jobber is a place where you can absolutely follow up with everybody. You can store their phone number, email, contact information. It is vital if you have any home service business that you have a CRM. And I truly believe that Jobber is the best one in the market. And you guys should try a 14-day free trial. The link is down below. If you like it, great. And if you don't like it, don't use it. But I bet you like it. Let's roll. 3. How much money can you actually make in this? Dude, I know billion-dollar companies. Billion with a B. Multiple 100 million, multiple quarter billion, multiple $500 million businesses that actually generate. Each level gets a lot different of what I've noticed as I've stayed in this game. Is that like, you know, when you can't do this alone. You have to be a good leader. You have to do a lot of these things. But when you're first starting off, like, it's very gritty. It's very treacherous. You're in the trenches, and you're like pretty much a very blue collar, very trenchy. But there's money out there. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The cleaning industry in itself is a huge industry, nationwide, global-wide. Next one. Oversaturation. Brutally honest truth, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. There could be tons of companies in your area. I don't believe in competition in itself. More times than not, the top echelon collaborate together. And that's the best mental thesis that I can give you, is that you actually collaborate with some of these people. You unite, you team up, and then they'll feed you jobs, you feed them jobs whenever you guys get busy. It is a cheat code, but being able to actually network efficiently, most people envision as somebody in their adjacent sector as competition, but it's actually a potential lead source, and it's also somebody that you could rely on if you get busy enough. So just as food for thought, it's probably not what you want to hear, but I'm giving it to you real. If you live in an area that is saturated, you just separate yourself by becoming the local celebrity, but that just derives down by doing the little things over and over and over. The Facebook Lives, the customer testimonials, the just getting a little bit better every single time. That's what Mr. B says about his videos. That's what you should do with your business. Okay, next one. Can you compete? Absolutely. Kind of what I just said. You can compete. This was so when you're first starting. When you're first starting, and this is my brutally honest truth, it is a somewhat of a low status occupational sector, meaning that it is easy entry to barrier. So there's not much of a barrier to entry because there's a lot of people that could just buy one from Home Depot, etc., right? Main addressable concern. And then also with your friends, with your family, a lot of people just kind of look at it as almost in a derogatory sense, and they also like downgrade. But I find it ironic sometimes, and I'll just kind of use a plumber for this instance, that a white collar guy that will make like 70 or 80K, whatever it is, will look down, like hyper down, almost in the sense of patronizing down at a plumber that generates $500,000 and makes $500,000. Like, it is not a sexy business from a status play. And if you look at girls and they're like, what do? You know, there's ways to get around that. Of course, you can say, like, I run a business, we do some commercial stuff, right? But it's not the sexiest industry. And so some people will look down, some people will ask what you're doing, and then you will feel isolated. And you have to go through that. You have to push through that. It's almost like the lonely chapter in a sense, where you're first starting and you're learning a ton of these things and you're going through these tribulations, and it's just, you gotta push past that. It's like the golden rule of business is a sticking business. So it takes a lot of kind of emotional fortitude. And I love the scene in The Matrix where I believe somebody gets out of the car and they're driving forward and they look back at the woman in the red dress, which is the most distractive element in the game. And Neo's like, why are you looking back? You know where that road leads down. And he goes back into the car and he just decides to not go back to the conformity of what he used to and go back to that lust. And essentially that's what it feels like when you're starting. You have friends that are trying to be distractive, or you have people that are trying to be distractive, or you have people that are trying to patronize in a sense, and it does test your character in a way. So just food for thought. My honest truth on the actual business in totality, I love it. Evidently, like, it has gotten me to a point, humbly, but you kind of look at the backyard in a sense where, you know, there's a Porsche right there, there's a truck right there, there's a, you know, a beautiful pool, a shed, very spacious, and like an ideal location. Like, it's gotten me to a very unique spot, but it's a few years in the making. So it is very tangible. It is very tangible, but it does take a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of learning. It takes a lot of discipline behind what you do and a lot of sacrifices. And so, like, my brutally honest truth is it's not meant for everybody, first of all, because like 0.001% of people will actually take action through this video. 2, that it is a very difficult industry in itself, meaning not the technical side of things, but from the marketing and sales play, it is a marketing and sales business. 3, scaling appropriately in any business is very, very, very tough. So when you're first starting off, it's exciting. The thrill of that, absolutely. But there is absolutely money to be made in this industry. It's an industry that I see that's not going to be replaced by AI anytime soon, which is phenomenal, which is honestly very encouraging, because you see a lot of white-collar guys that are actually getting dismissed because of AI, because AI has just certainly replaced. I just don't see a robotic figure washing a house anytime soon. But maybe that's just me. Maybe Elon has something up his sleeve. But besides the point, these are my honest truths about the washing business. If you guys like this type of content, definitely subscribe, as I'm posting every Tuesday and Friday at 5:15 Central Standard Time. Follow me along my journey, because it's a fun one. And so you guys should follow me on the Instagram as well. YouTube is recommending this video, and your boy is signing out. Peace.